Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us live. Thank you, everybody, for making the live session. We are live. Thank you, everybody. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining the live session. Thank you all. Thank you, everybody. Welcome, Somi. Hi, Somi. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. Thank you for joining. Also, thank you, everybody, for being part of the crew. We'll get started in the next. Sorry for joining a bit late. So let's get started. Let's tell everybody we are live. Let's tell everybody we are live. We are live. We are live, folks. We are live. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. We get started in the next 2 minutes right now. Let me just ping everybody that we are live. We are live. We are live. We are live, everybody. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Hey, Sammy, are you ready?
I was born
You
ready.
are ready. I like that. That is awesome. Tommy is born ready. Let us make this happen, bro. You are born ready. All right, can we all type and just chat real quick and say, just acknowledge you are live here. Let everybody chat. Let's just chat. Let's tell everybody we are live. Let's tell them. Can we text everybody and tell them we are live? Excellent, folks. Thank you all. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you all for joining. We are live, folks. We are live. All right, let everybody know we are live. We are live, folks. We are live. Let's go. Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you, Fritz. We are live, folks. That is awesome. It's always a delight when somebody takes the bullet for the team, So me is already said, hey, come on, guys. Bring it on. I'm ready for you all. And as always, folks, remember the drill. The goal for us is to make sure we can prepare our folks towards eventually getting an offer. That's really what we care about here, really. So, as always, we'll be conservative a little bit, not because we are mean, but we just want to make sure we can, as much as possible, get our folks to a point they can be comfortable to do some of those interviews as much as possible. That's the goal for us. So, with us today, we have one of our mentors. He will be jumping into the lion's den with us, and we'll just go through some of the role that he's applying for, get into the details. Some other folks also have an interview. They may not join, but I'll just talk about their role. Going forward, if anyone does not join and the schedule, in the future, we'll not schedule them again, just because we want to be respectful of people's time. If you don't show up, then naturally you've made somebody lose their spot. So we just put you in the backbone, and in the future, we just not bring you into maybe some penalties for that, right? So, all right, let's jump in. Thank you so much, Sami. So with us today, we have Sami on the line. And let me quickly go through some of the role with Sami real quick. All right, this is the role. Now, for those of us on this call, do me a favor if you don't mind, please. Go ahead and type questions that you think Sami should be conscious of, right? Because ultimately, this is your show. I'm just facilitating it, right? At the end of the day, we want our folks to be successful. We are not going to be nice to our folks. We'll be kind, but we are not nice people. We're going to be very brutal. We're going to ask you a lot of questions that we think can help you survive. And don't take it personal. Nobody gets more than five, mostly in our community. And the reason is simple. We just want to leave room for you to go back and add more layers, add more skill. So that at the end of the day, ultimately, we just want you to get an offer. Okay. And I like the way you put some lighting around your background. That's good. Your framing is good. So those are good signs. All right, let's jump into it, ladies and gentlemen. So we can be respectful of our time. It's midday. All right. So this is the role of a third-party risk analyst. For those of us that are new to our program, one of the areas we touch, especially the hands-on in our project, is for third-party risk role. What do they do in general? At the end of the day, we are thinking about different third-party vendors coming to your environment. When you onboard them, your due diligence and risk assessment, up until the point you either renew their contract or terminate their contract. It's going to be an ongoing thing. So the role here requires you to have a good knowledge of third-party risk management program, including creating the program charter, which is just the high level of what will be going on in the whole program itself, the workflow documentation, and the potential integration with other tools. So there are many tools they use for third party, right? One of them is a tool we will learn later in this program. Well, in my GRC program, it's called Risk Rhino. So you can actually develop questionnaires. In your case, you might use Audit Board, you might use um, Archer, whatever tool they use for third party does not matter really. Then you would also be responsible for defining criteria for due diligence for your vendors, right, or suppliers. With the cybersecurity questionnaires you build, then you're going to be responsible for helping with the onboarding processes. Mostly you develop potentially the policies around it. And the beautiful thing is that we have a lot of guidance around this. It's not a big deal. Then you collaborate with reviewing the current security framework used. A lot of companies use ISO 27001 framework to kind of benchmark, even NIST framework at times. The section that talks about suppliers or vendors, they will use some of it to benchmark their current program, which is great. Then documentation is going to be a big one. You will do walkthrough, which is just to understand the process on how your vendor relationship is or your third-party tier process is within your organization. Every company is going to be different. We can all agree on that. But the minimum, we need to make sure some of the best practice standards are followed at the minimum, right? Then if there are gaps, you need to identify those gaps and ready to remediate those gaps at the end of the day. Okay. Tell me about yourself. We sneaked into scenarios here that we think is helpful that you can potentially use some of the guidance here. Establishment of vendor tiering and due diligence done in a project you worked on. And this led to qualitative improvement of the overall risk management program. Many times most companies will still have like a third-party risk management program that they provide oversight, and everybody's always looking for continuous improvement, right? We can all agree on that. Another project that I thought was cool was, every one of us on this call, remember there's always going to be a time you're helping to mitigate gaps. Gaps are easy to find, right? Anybody can say you have an issue. The next level is what's more important. How do you resolve those issues? And that's where we come in. Now, in your case, you said you were able to quantitatively reduce the gap by 20%. That is significant. Think about big organization. 8% is a monster. So 20% is really, really a big deal, right? So that's significant enough. Then I said, okay, what are some questions you can ask? Always ask around what is the insight into their current challenges around their third-party risk management program, and how would your role help to address it? I expect they would say you would help with remediation or fixing of those issues, but that's something that is going to be a good question to ask for this role. Then you could also ask what are some of their primary tools they use for their third-party risk management program. Sometimes some companies don't even have a solution or tool they use, and that's okay. The bottom line is that it shows you're curious, you're willing to adapt and learn their program and the solution they use for that program at the end of the day. Okay, so your show. Now, this is going to be your show now. We're bouncing back to you now. All right, so that is the eye level snapshot. And thank you. I have a few of my folks already asking you questions. So I'll start with the first one. Typically, what we always like to do is we're going to ask you to say, okay, walk us through specifically what you've done, your experience. Now, that is your slam dunk. That is going to be like the one I want you to jump in, put your star scenario, walk me through those scenarios. Just tell me, hey, I would like to talk about some project I've worked on, if that's fine with you. They will say yes. Then, when you talk about one project, you can pause and say, do you have any questions? Smile. I want facial expression. Smile. Do you have any questions? Many times they will say, oh, okay, good. Continue, because they want to know more. Remember our guideline, use the STAR process, right? Thank you, Dorothy. Use the STAR process. Every one of us, before you jump to the lines, then we're going to be critical. We want your thought process to flow. Think in your mind, this is the situation, this was my responsibility or my task, this is the action, and this was the result, right? That's what we want really at the end of the day. So we want to be more organized in our thoughts, and it requires practice. So let's have fun. All right, your show now. All right, so So, I mean, we saw a resume online. We think you might be a fit for one of our roles. We are looking for a third-party risk analyst to help us with our third-party program, help us with remediation program, and help us to be more effective as a team. If you don't mind, can you walk us through your experience and what you've done?
Sure. Thank you for having me. I'm an experienced professional with a strong background in third-party risk management and control work. In my previous roles, I've actively contributed to the development and expansion of third-party risk management programs. Have hands-on experience in creating program charters, designing workflows, integrating various tools to enhance risk management processes, and worked with internal stakeholders, worked with third-party vendors, worked with legal, worked with procurement, just to ensure that every stakeholder is on the same page.
Okay.
And if you don't mind, I'm gonna walk through a few of the projects that I've worked on, and one of the notable projects that I've worked on is when we established the vendor tiering approach and due diligence criteria, which led to a more systematic and efficient vendor assessment process. And as a result, we able to reduce the risk associated with high risk vendors, leading to a qualitative improvement in our risk management processes. I've also worked on vendor analysis, where we try to determine the best or the best third party
Is that a
for.
second project or is that the first project you're talking about?
That's the second project. Second
Okay,
project.
if you don't mind, for the first project you talked about, I noticed you mentioned we a couple of times. What was your specific role on that project? Your
So
specific role.
so I led the team on that particular project in terms of
Okay.
how do we tier our third party vendors.
Okay, got it. Got it. Okay, that is fair enough. All right. Can I ask you a question before you even go on also?
Sure.
How would you, based on your first project, for example, how would you handle a non-responsive clients that, you've requested evidences a couple of times, and despite that, they just are very non-responsive? What would you do? What's going to be your approach to that typically?
Well, first of all, I would want to let our internal stakeholders know that we have a vendor that we've tried to reach out to. We've asked for feedback. They haven't provided that feedback, so we're going to give them another final notice on that feedback. And if we don't hear back from them within the next 5 to 7 business days, then we're going to take them out of the list. And then I'll send an email or communication to that vendor, letting them know that they have 5 to 7 business days to provide the information that we need. And if for whatever reason we don't get that information within that time frame, then they'll be excluded from the consideration for this particular project. So,
All right. What about if it's a strategic vendor that you've worked with in the past and they are pretty, they have a good relationship with you, but with your due diligence, for some reason, they are just not responding. But this is a vendor you genuinely don't mind being part of you because you've worked with them for the last 7 years. So what would you do?
well,
Yes, we should give them the timeline. I get it, but I just want to say if it's a vendor, your team, your business really enjoy working with.
well, if there's one that we've worked in the past that we have good relationship with them, depending on what that gap is or that control is, then we can make the recommendation that we proceed with that company. And as we go along with the project, then we would keep on, insisting or monitoring that gap to ensure that gap doesn't become a big issue in the future. While we continue to monitor and then ensure that at some point that vendor would provide us with that feedback while we continue with the other parts of the project.
Okay, got it. Okay. The other question I want to ask you, if you don't mind, is so if you and I see in your resume you mentioned you asked for SOC 2 reports for security control. So if you request a SOC 2 report from a vendor, right, that is providing cloud service for your team, what would you look for in the SOC 2 report typically? What are you looking for?
Well, we're looking for particular controls that really matter in terms of what we're trying to achieve. So you want to ensure that number one, the compliance with um, For that, so number one, you want to ensure that, for example, controls such as access control, controls such as identity and access management, those sort of
Okay.
controls are included because those are things that really matter to our users. Ensuring that things like MFA, single sign-on are included because that's how we want to protect and make sure that we're not vulnerable to any data breach.
Okay, got it. What about if they have some gaps in their SOC 2 report? How would you approach it? So let's say, for example, their IAM, you realize that in the SOC 2 report, there were incidents whereby they had issues that were not remediated. What do you do? Do you follow up on those issues to see if there's report of the remediation? What do you do?
Yes, first of all, we want to understand why those things are not in place. We want to understand
Okay,
if there are plans for those things to be in place, and if there are plans, what's the time frame, and if there are no plans for those things to be in place, then we need to make it known that this is a thing that really that are very important to us from a business standpoint to provide our to protect our data. So we want to make sure that those things are in place and at a good time. And like I said, we'll monitor we'll give a time frame that this thing has to be in place at this particular time. Otherwise, we will not feel comfortable, pursuing this
okay,
particular exercise with the provider.
okay. And just a follow-up question on one of the questions we asked earlier on. I know you mentioned escalation if a vendor is not providing you the right information, but how do you escalate within the vendor structure itself? So I would assume there's an escalation path within those vendor structure. Are you going to reach out to the analyst, and if there's no response, you push it to their managers? What's your structure typically in terms
So
of escalation? Yeah.
So we have something called like a rated chart. So we
Okay.
use that to know who is assigned to what and contact details. So depending on who owns that control, that'll be the first point of contact to let them know that we found this gap. This is what this the potential risk. We need this to be done, and then based on their feedback, but they'll be the first person that will reach out to based on the rated chart that we have.
Okay. Got it. Okay. That is fair enough. All right. Why do you think you're a fit for this role? What makes you think this is a fit for you? Yeah, why are you a fit for this?
Well, I've been in this industry for 6 years. I've worked on numerous projects from like I already put together. Also vulnerability management. I think my soft skills, my hard skills are one that would fit very well with this position. I feel like this position also will provide me with further challenges and engage me at a deeper level to learn more. But I feel like based on my experience over the past 5 to 6 years, I feel like this my experience has prepared me for this position to come into the organization, provide my knowledge and experience, and to also ensure that we move to the next level on on this. So
Okay, got it. Um, all right, cool. Any other question from our team? Please go ahead and ask Sami. Feel free. We want to make sure it's ready. Somebody said in SOC 2, you look at the TSP covered, reviewed, provider user entity controls, and other controls included in the TSP. All right. Okay, we'll talk about that later. Okay, what GRC tools are you familiar with?
Risk Rhino, Fusion, Risk Rhino Fusion, Atra. Those are three that I've used in the past.
Okay, all right. Okay, great. All right, any questions for us?
Yeah. Can you provide insights into the company's current challenges and priorities when it comes to third-party risk management and control work, and how does this role contribute to addressing those challenges?
So this particular role is really a new role. We need someone to provide oversight with our third-party programs and to specifically help us with remediation plan. So we have a couple of issues identified with our third-party program right now, And we need someone to just make sure they don't drop the ball. They constantly follow up on those third party issues we have and help us to remediate it. That's the goal at the moment for us.
Okay. And just one more question: what tools and technologies are primarily used within the
Interestingly,
organization?
you said Risk Rhino. We also have Risk Rhino in our unit. In the past, we used Archer, but we deployed Risk Rhino a few months ago.
Okay. And have you found that to be more effective than Archer?
It is very user friendly and very intuitive, and of course, much more budget friendly.
Okay. Well, no further questions from me.
All right, just a final question, if you don't mind. I know you mentioned you had some soft skills that you've used effectively in the past. Can you walk us through some of those self skills and how has it helped you to be successful?
Communication, communication, leadership, and being a team member. Because obviously, at the end of the day, no project will be handled by one person. It's all about how the team can work together to ensure that we provide the best solution and the best recommendation to the business. So
Okay.
being able to communicate and lead and be a team member and be transparent, um, um, uh, 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 that's how those skills have helped me to succeed in my positions.
Okay. And just one bonus question, if you don't mind. Walk us through your third party risk management life cycle management in general. Just give us a walkthrough. What is what is it like within the organization? Do you start with onboarding? What's it like? Just give us a breakdown of the life cycle.
Well, we start with due diligence. We first of all want to identify the vendors that we want to use, and then we go on to due diligence. And due diligence entails um, doing a risk assessment, understanding the history, um, the security posture, remediation plans if needed. And then once we're done with the due diligence and identification, then we do like a vendor analysis to compare based on the vendors that we think are best fit for that particular project. And then based on that, then we onboard the third party based on recommendations. And then once they're onboarded, then we have a continuous monitoring process, which can take
Okay.
on for as long. And then at the end of the project, then we do offboarding. So that's the life cycle plan.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Let's quickly give you some quick feedback and um. Okay. Sorry, guys. I saw some of the feedback. Guys, start giving me your feedback so I can share with somebody said he's not panicking, so let's show that. Somebody said good job. Okay, that is great. Somebody said this guy is ready. All right, cool, cool. We take that. Somebody said composure. I like the composure. He looks relaxed. All right, I think I would agree with the community. Really, I think I love you're very calm. You're relaxed. Your temperament is good. We're going to challenge you to put more substance for us, right? Now, I know I kind of threw you off your guardrail. I love the way you switched on me when I asked you, walk me through your experience, what you've done. You started talking about it and you said, hey, do you mind? Can I walk you through some of my projects I've worked on? Now, the only thing I'll ask you to do is pause for like 5 seconds to see if I respond, yes, sure. Or I can, is it okay? So naturally they will tell you, yes, it's okay, right? Because you want to get their buy-in and say, hey, good, walk me through the project. Then once you finish a project, you say, make sure you say the second project. I can say before I go to the second project, you have questions on the first project. You'll probably say, no, go to the second project. Then you go to the second project. Make sure you put the word second. Then if it's a third one, you say the third project was a remediation project on this. Then you pause because you want to make it engaging because you want to make sure on that first project, I want to see your body language if you resonate with you and if you want me to add more context around it. Many times they will say, yeah, that's good. Go to the second project. Then pause, and make it your demeanor is so calm and relaxed, so which is really endearing to most people, really. And so use it as your advantage and be calm, but make it engaging. Pause, let them give you feedback as, oh, that is interesting, that is great, that is similar to what we're doing. You can see the language to kind of cue you to the next talking point. So I think that was good too. Let me see another one. Let's see some other comments. Okay, somebody said sit up a little bit. Okay, so I think that's fair point. So don't forget, guys, ladies, always put like something behind you, your back. One is good for the health anyway, but it gives you like a straight posture. You can
Okay.
always get some of those to kind of make the body align a little bit. So work on those optics. I know sometimes we might think it's not important. Our era has changed. This is an era of optics, video, very important. So in an interview also, keep it important. Your
Okay.
background, if you don't mind, if you use this, I think there's too much light coming in, so reduce the light, maybe
Okay. Okay.
reduce the window. Then if you can put like a nice, maybe wall frame if you want to, that's okay.
Okay.
Something that
Okay.
is catchy. If not, it's okay. But keep um, I don't want the light to be too much on the back there. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but I think this was good. Okay? My personal feel, I think honestly, I'm comfortable with the 5 for sure because you were calm, then you were prepared. And in case some of you that didn't know, before you come to the Lions Den, I challenge you, ladies and gentlemen, never run from our den. I know sometimes it looks intimidating. A lot of people are giving comments and all that. But let me tell you the goal. The goal is let us chew ourselves internally. Look, I would not do better than you, really, any one of us, because it's tense, right? It's a lot of people, right? So it's okay. Don't take it personal. It's just to force us to, because think about it. The goal is we want to get the job, right? So let us be the one to kind of pieces it. Let's create the worst case scenario for you so that when you get to an interview, at least we've covered those areas potentially people can throw you off. Okay. So make sure you show up. A lot of you have reached out to me. Hey, I just want a consulting service. I charge a lot, really. My billing rate is too expensive. So yeah, it makes no sense to want me one-on-one. Some of you have done it and you know it's expensive. I give you 5% off, but it's still expensive. You pay a lot for me one-on-one to do 1 hour with you. I'll do it. You pay me, but why don't you just come to the community? You don't have to pay, but you'll be visible. We all get to learn together. And I think it's even more effective because my perspective is not as sharp as all of us perspective together. Okay? So I'll challenge those of you on the call that are reaching out one-on-one. Hey, I'll take your money. I'm not going to shy from it, but why don't you just do this? I would always recommend this first. But hey, I'm a consultant. I'll still act as a consultant. If you want my service one-on-one, no problem. I'll do it. But I recommend do this. This is smarter in my opinion. It makes you sharper. You get more feedback and you're more ready. That's what I think personally. Okay. But again, if you want to do that, that's fine. I'll take your money. Okay, let's see. Somebody said, don't forget to smile and some body language. Fair point. Yeah, I like that. That chuckle is good. It's not like you're laughing like a clown, but at least, the chuckle, I like that. It shows the humanity in all of us. So smile a little bit, moderation, but that is good. That's good. Somebody said, okay, eye contact also, do us a favor, make sure. Yes, I know all of us always put things to kind of help us. Whatever you put, make it like a prime so that it's your talking point. Because if you make it too long, it will show that you're reading. Okay. So make it like something, just a talking point. Maybe I'm talking about scenario 1, remediation. Once I see the point, I'll pick it up from there. And so be mindful of that part also. Let's see some more. Somebody said, all right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ola. All right, I like that. Happiness said, okay, I have to show this one. Happiness said your offer is on the way. Good luck.
Amen.
All right. So I think
Amen.
I think it was good. I personally feel good about this. So just go bring the offer, folks. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you the statistics. 80% of our folks that do this, to my knowledge, have been pushed to probably 90% for the last 1 month. Have been pushed to the final phases. It's a pretty good statistic, really. 90% of the folks that have been on this Lions Den have been moved to the final phases. Either they've moved to final phase. There's no way that didn't tell me that they've moved into even the one that I thought was really bad we have moved to the final phase. Really, last week they just say, "Hey, thank you. We got moved to the final phase. Perfect. That's what we wanted to say." So I encourage you participate. Thank you so much. Let's give some love to Somi. Excellent job, brother. You did great.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Before we go, I know the other two folks didn't show up, but let me still talk about what they have. Unfortunately, in the future, they're not gonna participate for some time because they didn't respect our time, so they didn't show up. So, um, but let's just talk about their role for the purpose of helping other folks. So this fellow wanted to apply for a compliance response specialist. The role is really meant to develop and response processes. They will be responsible for issue management, disputes, legal processes. So pretty much, if there are compliance issues, their role is to help the organization to potentially respond, which is great. They do root cause analysis. Don't forget, at the end of the day, ultimately they would follow the guideline, the policies and procedure of the organization internally anyway. So it's not like they're coming up with some random way of doing it. Based on that, they would implement the responses. So I'm not going to respond to a legal matter myself. I have to go through the legal counsel, right? So, let's just be mindful of that. Okay. So yeah, I just ask the person, focus on knowledge of issuing of complaint, resolution of those complaints, understanding root cause analysis of issues, reducing response issues by, let's say, 8 to 10%. I always like that 8 to 10 because that's still big, right? Because think about it, all of us on this call, we've probably called help desk to help us to resolve certain issues. Those are issue or response analysts. They are responding to those calls and they are checking the root cause. In this case, it's just mostly around compliance. So we can do those jobs, do if the price is right. We can also do those kind of role. It's not a big deal, okay? All right, let's another one. Questions for me. We challenge you to definitely ask about what are the compliance challenges they've seen, or the top. I can ask them definitely tell me your top 3 compliance challenges that are consistent. Somebody might say, well, it's issue with GDPR, it's issue with PHI record violation or PII record, whatever it is. You'll be ready to tell me some of the main issues that you guys are dealing with, right? Then you can also ask how they foster cross-functional collaboration within multiple teams. Earlier on, remember when we talk about compliance, you'll see people talking about legal or general counsel team working together with your lawyers, working with other stakeholders, procurement team, your IT team, HR team. All of those departments will sync together for sure. Okay. So just to give you guys heads up in general. All right, so that's really for that role. Let's see another role real quick, and at least it can be useful to some of us to kind of, in case you guys are having interview with those kind of role too. All right, let's take another role that we had one of our folks. All right, this person, compliance analyst role. Let's quickly see what this role is about real quick. So this role is of course, because you're a compliance analyst, you would help them with GDPR for privacy, NIST framework, CMMC, which is government contract work, then EPA for healthcare in general, right? So you're going to be responsible for making sure you're monitoring and making sure your organization is in compliance. One thing all of us on this call must always participate with is make sure at the minimum, you can talk about remediation project, meaning you're helping them to resolve issue or fix issue. Very important. It's always a big one. Most times. So just at least be ready to talk about that. Let's see. So I think that's the core of this role, remediation, fixing of issues in general. Let me see. There's one other role this person applied for. Let's see if we can talk about it, just in case somebody else find themselves applying for the similar roles. This is more like a business process analyst role. Let's see. I think in general, I've seen some of my folks apply for roles. They call them either policy analyst, business process analyst in compliance, still apply. The beautiful thing is I have one of our team members, she's working on as a compliance policy analyst or business policy analyst, and she's been doing amazingly well. probably about 3 months now. So whatever the role is, we'll be fine. And if she finishes her project, she can easily sneak in that she helped to optimize and improve the process performance by 20%, 18%, 10%, whatever number you want to put there, sneak it in there. And I've sent this document to most of you already, so just jump on it. And I think that's really pretty much it. But that's the gist of those roles too. And please, everybody else, if you jump on the Lions Den, you must show up. If you don't show up, we give you an embargo of 1 month minimum. Yeah, we're not going to take you again for 1 month. All right, we want to respect everybody's time. All right, thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the week. We wish you the best week ever. And look out for the next one. We'll probably do another one once this week again. Thank you, everybody. God bless. Enjoy the rest of the week. Bye-bye.